How does one get from this to this? And this place is a garage. My client was inspired by the movie Ferris Bueller's Day Off, and there's this awesome scene in which the Ferrari was kept in this glass-walled garage overlooking a wooded ravine. The architect designed a location for a sculpture, but it was unresolved. So my client saw one of my previous pieces, liked it, and we decided to scale it up. We're using 3 32 inch thick silicon bronze, and first step is to start creating some of the planes and the shapes, which involves cutting a template, translating it onto the bronze, tracing it, and cutting it. There are multiple ways to cut it. This is a jigsaw. We can use a cutoff wheel, plasma torch. I often prefer a cutoff wheel because I can cut the cleanest, straightest lines without a lot of cleanup afterwards. So the next step is to pound out some of the metal, create the forms, give it some radius. I didn't have any footage of this particular piece that I was working on, but this is a stand-in clip. Gets the idea across, I think. Next step is to work out all the hammer marks. The weapon of choice would be the English wheel. This particular piece is quite heavy for me to manage, not as young as I used to be, and the fatigue is real. That being said, the English wheel is a miracle worker. This one's kind of a cheapie, but it gets the job done. One of these days, I'd like to get myself a big boy English wheel, or maybe even build one myself. Now that my arms are jello, I am attempting to remove the remaining hammer marks the old-fashioned way? Kind of. Who needs yoga? Then you weld it in. If only it was that easy. First you gotta wrestle the snot out of it, tack by tack, get it in position. Then you weld it in. This part's kind of satisfying. Now we're getting into rinse and repeat territory. We gotta template the existing structure, make a decision as to what shape is next, and cut it, shape it, fit it, weld it. Cut it, shape it, fit it, weld it. Check out this cool clamp flip. For those that may not know, I'm TIG welding the bronze. You can use a MIG machine for this, but it's messy and sloppy. TIG is definitely the way to go for many materials. It's cleaner, less fumes to breathe in, and so forth. And I have a Miller machine, and in my humble opinion, Miller is king. Alright, short montage of progress. And coming together now, and put it up on its edge, and lo and behold, this is a cool position for the thing. Not way it's gonna be, but we'll get there. A little comparison here from the original. In order to properly mount the base, I now have to find the vertical orientation that feels right. When satisfied, I'll use a laser level and mark out some reference points. That will allow me to lay it out horizontally, still understand the orientation of it, and correctly mount it to the base. I made the base out of 1/8 inch corten steel. It's about 4 feet tall, and I pre-rusted it for the look. Now everything's lined up, and it has to be assembled on location. It's too heavy for me to do it all in one piece. So the tubing from the sculpture needs to fit in the base perfectly. And in here you can see some of the internal structure to add strength to it. I had to rig up a hole saw so that everything is in alignment. We're going to have to go deep into the sculpture in order to secure it efficiently. There's a top piece that will have to be removed eventually to weld everything in, and then we'll permanently weld that back in once it's done. And this is the first time attempting this, so let's see how it works. See? Pretty slick, except for that time it nearly tore my arm off. Alright, so that cover plate is removed, and you can kind of see some of the interior structure, some stainless steel reinforcement. This will help keep it all nice and sturdy and strong. Now we put back this removable piece and weld it back in, finish it. Here's the base, and the sculpture itself has the tubes mounted in it now and finished nicely. Everything is ground clean and ready to be inserted into the base. Here's a shot from the loft. Now we got some flanges to cover up the holes, and you can see some of the interior structure again, and it's bolted in, not going anywhere. Here's the bracket mount to the ground. Now here's the part where I gotta figure out how to get this thing vertical. Little old me can't push up about 500 pounds worth of sculpture, so we gotta get clever. When in doubt, make a teeter-totter. Wasn't 100% sure on that one. Alright, it's vertical. Hallelujah. Alright, here we are. Coolest damn garage I've ever seen. Owners had me do a number of projects for them over the years, and now we're looking at the location for the sculpture install. And right down here we got some decorative rocks that are going to have to be removed. So it looks like I'm going to have to get cold. So now I had to make a few ramps to get things down safely and not damage anything. And as you can see, they come in two pieces, and now we're putting the thing up. Had it wrapped up to protect it, and my camera battery died. So much for install footage. Here we are a couple days later, and woohoo, it's up. It looks good. Let's take a moment and see it from some different views. Inside the space. Swing around. These are some other things I made for the location. These are some cool door pull locks. Utilized some of the wood from the build out of the interior, some bronze. I had to make my own gears for this one, and yeah, it turned out pretty slick, I think. Probably have to make another video for that one. Here's a few more shots of the sculpture, and thank you all for watching.